As soon as I came home after watching this movie, a friend of mine came to me and said, "So, what genre do you think Natchathiram Nagargiradhu is actually a part of?" And for an entire 10 seconds, I was just like, I don't know. So, instead of trying to put it in the classification of romance or drama, for this video, I just thought I will split up this movie in what I think are the major three components it's consisting of and let you guys decide for yourself. So, the first thing is it's kind of like Paranjit's own study of what he thinks love actually is. And it almost feels like when he asked himself that question, all the different answers that he got are split into different characters that he drafted throughout the movie. For example, the character played by Kalarasan, named Arjun, for him, love is something that completely changed his worldview. And for a trans woman, love is somebody accepting her for what she is as herself without having to pretend like she's somebody else. Now, for all these characters to establish this throughout the movie, it takes a good chunk of around 30 to 40 minutes. But Ranjit doesn't let this worry him into cutting it short for what we call audience acceptance. Ranjit's movies have undoubtedly always been about lending a voice to the minorities. But Natchathiram Nagargiradhu is special in the sense that it's lending a voice to so many minorities that he thinks should be addressed. As it's obvious from the trailer, community that's part of this is the LGBTQIA plus community. There is talking about women's rights. There's talking about lower caste people's rights, and there's also a kind of a nod of acknowledgement to the Muslim community. But he's not actually forcing these into the narrative. The narrative just flows naturally while he's bringing each of these to the forefront. The third most important component, according to me, in this movie is the play of colors, which I think is also obvious from the trailer. And I mean this both figuratively as well as literally. For example, he uses a very unadulterated, passionate shade of red, which is almost trippy, to show two passionate lovers when they share a kiss for the first time, and a very bright white light when they're literally ascending a flight of stairs going to the state of bliss. I want to say that Dushra Vijayan and Kalarasan have done a fantastic job, and they have. But the most impressionable performance, according to me, was from a not so popular actor who had very little screen time. She played the role of Kalarasan's mom, and the hysteria she had on her face when she finds out that her screen son is actually in love with a scheduled caste girl was just scary. Beautiful scene in the movie where a group of people who Ranjit has so far portrayed to be very accepting of each other eventually come to a point where they kind of ostracize this person because he's very conservative and he has hurt the sentiments a lot. But the character Renee, played by Dushra Vijayan, who is also the main protagonist, stands up for him and says he must stay in the group because we have to give him a chance to change. Because political correctness and being sentimentally right or being a secularist does not just come overnight. It comes by practice. It comes by making those mistakes and people allowing us the space to change. And speaking of this character Renee, the story is about multiple people, but it all pivots around this central protagonist. And she's kind of like Paranjit's reimagination of Andrea from Taramani, and both these women are at the peak of badassery where they will thrash anybody who does not respect them. So overall, I'm like super glad I went for this movie, even though it was a weekday night and I ruined my sleep for it. And I hope you catch it as well.